In this demonstration, we're going to go back to the Unified Communication Manager server and we're going to build our Jabber clients. We need to create a user, a phone number, and a Jabber client, an endpoint, a phone. Once we have that and all three of those objects are tied together, we're going to apply the service profile. This is going to contain the different IP addresses and settings that we want our Jabber client to use. We're going to show you how to set all of that up so that by the time you're done with this demonstration, you'll be able to configure Jabber clients in your own organization, smooth and easy. We're signed into the Unified Communication Manager cluster, and we're going to create our Jabber endpoint, but we've also got to create an end user and a phone. So we could make all three separately and then go in and associate all of them together, or we could create them all at once using the quick user phone add feature. And that's what we're going to do in this demonstration because I want to show you the most efficient way to do this. We're going to go to User Management. We're going to drop down to User Phone Add, Quick User Phone Add. From here, we're going to select Add New. Now, with this feature, Quick User Phone Add, if you haven't used it much, you can use an existing user, an existing number, an existing endpoint, an existing phone. Or you could build new ones of each, or any combination thereof. We're going to be making new user, new phone, and new number. Our user is going to be Owen, last name, Doe, display name, we're just going to keep it simple, Owen, user ID, keeping it simple. The feature group template, this can be used to associate a profile which can have other features that are well beyond the scope of our demonstration, so we're just going to use the defaults. We could put the user in a group if we wanted them to be able to sign in and manage their own endpoints using the self-care portal page, or for any other reason we want to put them in a group. But we're not going to do that. We're going to pass on that. And we're going to give them a password. We have to give them a password so that they can sign into their Jabber client. And since we've configured a password, we have to give them a PIN. We can't skip this. We don't really have a use for the PIN, but it needs to be placed in there. The extension, we're going to create a new number. And so we're going to select the plus and then new. We're going to give them the number 2002. The line template, we're going to use the only template that's available, the sample line template. You could, if you were to prepare ahead of time, you could build line templates that completely customize the directory number. So if you had users at your Miami location, you could make a line template for Miami users, or you could make a line template for interns or for any other group of individuals. We're going to just keep it using the sample, click add, and then we're going to give the user a URI. And the reason we're going to do that is because we want the user to be able to send and receive calls using URIs on Jabber. And that's a little bit more complicated than you might think. We have to configure the Jabber client to be able to dial URIs, user at host portion, and then we're going to associate a URI to the user. Once we've got that done, we're going to click Save. We've got our user, we've got our number. Now we need to create the endpoint, the phone. So we're going to scroll up, choose Manage Devices, and now we can add any device that Unified Communication Manager supports. To do that, we're going to select Add New Phone. Under Product Type, all of the different types of phones and telepresence endpoints. If we can get through all these phones here, we've got the Telepresence DX, the Telepresence 1300, the Telepresence Codec C90. All of the products that we talked about in earlier modules, they're all listed here. We're going to scroll down and find the Cisco Unified Service Framework client. This is going to be the Jabber client. For the universal device template, we're going to use the sample device template. And just as with the line, if we wanted to, we could build a device template, which would completely customize the settings that would be applied to this endpoint. So we could have our Denver management team, and you could give them permissions, you could give them descriptions. Every option that's on a phone or an endpoint could be customized. But we're just going to use the default. The device protocol is going to remain SIP. And the only thing that we need to apply is a name. And we're going to use CSF. That's required for Jabber endpoints. And then we'll just say CSF Jabber. Click Add Phone, and we're done. We've created a user, a number, and an endpoint phone. Let's go take a look under Device Phones. By the way, I hope I'm not confusing anyone when I say endpoints and phones, when I'm synonymous with those, because they're the same thing. A phone is what we're all used to using, but the official term is an endpoint. And it's the thing that you send and receive calls with. And because we can do more than just audio, we can also do video. Saying phone, it doesn't really do it enough justice. So Sometimes I say endpoint. I try to keep it consistent, but as you've heard, I skip back and forth. So we're talking about the things that you use to communicate with others. If we click find, there's our endpoint, our Jabber client. And if we select it, I want to point out a few things. Number one, I want to point out that the user Owen is already associated to this phone. That's the great feature about Quick User Phone Add. We don't have to associate users' phones and numbers because we already did that. If we were to select the number, we could scroll down to the bottom and we would see that Owen is already associated to the number. So they're all tied in together. If we were to go to User Management End User, we could take a look at Owen and we would see the same thing. Right here under Device Association, there's the Jabber client, and if we drop down, there's the primary extension. And I know I just sped through that, so I'm going to scroll back up and pause for a moment so that you can see the control device is indeed the CSF Jabber. We've configured our clients, our endpoints, we've used the Quick User Phone Add, and is there anything else that, there is. There is something that we're missing, and it's right here. I knew there was another reason I wanted to go back to the user. If we want the user to be able to use full-blown Jabber, and by that I mean using the IM and presence server and all of the features that come with the Jabber client, we have to tick this box. Enable user for unified CM, IM, and presence. We check the box, and then we also have to select the service profile. And that is something that we've already done. We'll take you through that, but we've already created the service profile. This contains the IP addresses of all of the different services that you want the Jabber client to use. So we're going to tick the box, use the service profile, click Save. Now, we're all done with our configuration here in Unified Communication Manager, but I want to show you the service profile. That's going to be located under User Management and under User Settings, UC Service, and Service Profile. These are going to give the Jabber client the information that it needs to connect to the different services. Let's go ahead and select the service profile, click Find, we'll select Jabber, and then we'll take a look at the different profile settings here. We've created these ahead of time. Voicemail profile. This is Unity Connection. We're going to tell Jabber, hey, you can talk to Unity Connection if we configure that, and the Jabber client will be able to dial in and check their voicemail. We've got the mail store. This is also going to point to Unity Connection. We've got a conferencing profile. If we have a conferencing server set up, we can point Jabber to that server. We've got the directory profile information. We can tell Jabber, where do I go to get contacts? You can go into Unified Communication Manager, which we've done with the Use UDS for Contact Resolution checkbox. We can also put in our Active Directory, Microsoft, LDAP information, and the Jabber client could go to Microsoft and pull contacts from that database. We've got the option to do one or the other. And if we scroll down a little bit further, we've got the IM and Presence profile. This is going to point to the IM and Presence server. CTI profile, if we wanted our Jabber client to control our endpoint, we would take care of that here. And then a video conferencing schedule portal. We could send Jabber to talk to the telepresence management servers. And that's a server, that's a topic that we're going to get into in an upcoming course. But for now, the telepresence servers are beyond the scope of this course. So all of these profiles were created under the User Management, User Settings, User Services. We create the individual services, and then we put them all together into the profile, associate the profile to the user. That's what the Jabber client is going to use. So these are the IP addresses that Jabber is going to use in order to use these services. We have to create them, configure them, and associate them. We've done that. And now we're ready to sign in with our Jabber client. That's coming up next.